What if I told you that behind the glitter of £1 million wedding, the vows weren't about love at all but about a ruthless bet? A rebellious bride walked down the aisle with fire in her eyes, and on the wedding night, one shocking twist turned the entire game upside down. This is the story of a rebellious bride, a millionaire's dangerous bet, and one wedding night surprise that would turn everything upside down. Welcome to English Stories with Sherry. Grab a cozy seat and let's journey through magical tales, classic stories, and everyday adventures all in English. Learning the language has never been this fun. The groom was no ordinary man. He was a millionaire known for his cold precision in business, a man who treated relationships like contracts, negotiations like battles, and promises like currency. For him, this marriage was not about love, it was about power, about proving something, about winning a wager that his friends had sworn he could never fulfill. The bet was whispered in the corners of private clubs, sealed with expensive cigars and glasses of aged whiskey. Could the ruthless millionaire make a woman, any woman, not only marry him but fall helplessly in love with him? He accepted the challenge, not because he believed in love, but because he loved winning. For him, this was a game. For her, it was her life. The wedding ceremony began. Guests cheered, champagne flowed, and cameras flashed. But beneath the surface, two very different battles were unfolding. The bride, smiling politely, was plotting her own escape from a life she had never wanted. The groom, confident and proud, believed his wager was already half won. As the vows were exchanged, her voice was steady, but inside she was screaming. Her heart raced, not with excitement, but with the pulse of rebellion. She wasn't going to let him win so easily. Not tonight. Not ever. The reception was a whirlwind of speeches, dances, and clinking glasses. The millionaire basked in the attention, shaking hands, making promises, watching the room through eyes trained to measure every advantage. The bride, meanwhile, sat quietly, her mind working faster than ever. And then, the night came. The wedding night. The world expects something predictable from that first night together. But this story is anything but predictable. When the door to their luxurious suite closed, silence filled the air. The groom loosened his tie, smirking as if victory was already his. The bride, however, stepped away, her back straight, her eyes sharp. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't timid. She was ready. "You think this is a game," she said softly, her voice calm but cutting. "A bet. A challenge you want to win." The millionaire froze for a moment. He hadn't expected her to know. But she did. Every whisper, every rumor, every smug laugh at the club, it had reached her ears long before the wedding. She wasn't the naive bride he had imagined. She was smarter, braver, and far more dangerous than he realized. "Do you really think," she continued, stepping closer, "that love can be bought, won, or forced? You may have your millions, your power, and your arrogance. But you don't have me." The surprise on his face was genuine. For once, the man who always had control felt it slipping through his fingers. He had entered this marriage believing he was the hunter. Instead, he discovered he might be the prey. That was the wedding night surprise. She wasn't here to fall in love with him. She wasn't here to play along with his wager. She was here to turn the game upside down. The hours that followed were filled with a clash of wills unlike anything either of them had experienced. He tried to charm her with stories of his success, his travels, his victories. She countered with silence, with sharp words, with truths that cut deeper than any insult. She refused to be dazzled by his wealth, refused to be swayed by his charm. Instead, she began to show him something he had never seen before: what it meant to be powerless in the face of someone who cannot be bought. Night after night, their relationship became a battlefield. He tried to win her with gifts, she refused them. He tried to lure her with promises, she called them lies. He tried to break her spirit, instead, she revealed his own emptiness. And slowly, something began to change. For the first time in his life, the millionaire questioned himself. Why did it matter so much that she resisted him? Why did her defiance sting more than any business loss? Why did her strength feel like the very thing he had been missing all along? The bet that had started as a game began to unravel. What began as arrogance turned into curiosity. Curiosity turned into respect. And respect, something he had never truly given another person, began to transform into something far more dangerous. Real love. But here's the irony: while he was falling, she was rising. She had walked into the marriage determined to rebel, and she did. Yet, in her rebellion, she revealed to him the one truth he had spent his life avoiding: that love isn't about winning, controlling, or conquering. It's about surrendering, risking, and being vulnerable. The surprise of that wedding night was not just her defiance. It was the way she shattered his carefully constructed world. The way she exposed the emptiness behind his bet. The way she forced him to see that love isn't a wager, it's the one thing you can't buy, trick, or cheat your way into. And in the end, the rebellious bride had done the impossible. Not by falling in love with him, but by forcing him to learn what love really was. The millionaire's bet, the one he thought was his greatest challenge, became his greatest loss. And perhaps, his greatest lesson. So what's the moral of this story? It's simple. Love is not a game. It's not a bet. It's not about power or pride. It's about truth, respect, and the courage to stand your ground. And sometimes, the greatest surprise comes not from what others do to you, but from the strength you discover within yourself. The rebellious bride taught him that. And maybe, in the end, she taught us all. Thanks for listening to English Stories with Sherry. If you enjoyed today's tale, like, subscribe, and share with a friend learning English. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep learning, and keep listening.